Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. I'm going to ask my beautiful assistant, Vanna, to use her telekinesis and telepathic powers to click the slides. So without a remote, I will ask her to advance. So BYD, many of you may not know, stands for Build Your Dreams. It was a company founded in 1995 by a research scientist in China, Chairman Wang. He started in battery technology, and that's where I was introduced to BYD out of Motorola. I was the global energy commodity manager for Motorola, and I was buying about $3 billion worth of batteries annually. And this is for the new cell phone that Motorola had invented. I was part of that team. The first battery I designed was for a brick phone. As many of you may have seen the Dynatac. I was the inventor of the 2-pound battery for the Dynatac that only lasted 20 minutes. And you were thrilled to have that 20 minutes wirelessly. And I advanced within Motorola and began buying lithium, cobalt, lithium manganese, lithium chemistries, and reduced the size of the battery. Did the StarTAC, did a lot of the new battery technologies. And that's how I learned a lot about BYD. BYD launched many different chemistries and became what I would consider the world's #1 battery manufacturer. They have about 60% share in the nickel-cadmium, nickel metal hydride chemistries. Most cordless phones run it. About 32% share of the lithium cobalt systems. So most single cell batteries, they're building about 1.5 million batteries packs a day. That's a lot of batteries for cell phones. And launched ODM, Original Design Manufacturing, building a lot of phones. And what you may not know is Motorola purchased about half of their phones from the marketplace as an original design, and then they put our logo on it. BYD is probably the largest ODM in the world today. So they brand under Samsung, they brand under Nokia, they brand under Motorola. But they're phones designed by BYD and manufactured by BYD, and then the software is flashed by the local entity. So a big electronics manufacturer. They leveraged a lot of their profits from that to reinvest into new energy markets. And in 2002, 2003, they acquired an auto manufacturing license, a plant that was state-owned enterprise. They bought it from the state, the Chinese state government, and launched vehicles. Their vision was to electrify transportation. And in 2008, they launched the world's first mass-produced plug-in electric vehicle, the F3DM. Today, that vehicle sells for $10,000 in Shenzhen. It goes 60 miles all electric, has a 1.0 liter engine, that range extends about 300 miles. Still sells with subsidies for $10,000 US. Launched solar market, solar panels, launched electric buses, electric taxis. Next slide. This is the first electric bus that BYD launched. It has in-wheel hub motors. It has no transmission. It has no engine. So you don't have to replace 50 gallons of oil every 5 weeks, as most diesels do, to change their oil every 5 weeks. It doesn't have an engine to rebuild every 300,000 to 400,000 miles. It has electric in-wheel hub motors that we believe will last the life of the vehicle. And it has 324 kilowatt hours of iron phosphate batteries. They're doped with lithium. The predominant cathode metal is iron. The predominant anode is phosphates. So it's iron phosphate by the industry's naming convention. You might know it by lithium iron phosphate, but it has very little lithium in it. That bus on 324 kilowatt hours of battery can drive over 155 miles. It drives up to 200 miles, depending on the driver behaviors, depending on the route, depending on air conditioning and hotel loads. But we say above 155 miles. That's 24-hour service if you're running at LAX. So Hertz has run this vehicle several times in the summer and the winter at LAX. It operates 24 hours, then pulls in and takes about a 3 to 5 hour charge, depending on the state of charge when the bus pulls into the garage. Because it has no axle, you can drop the floor literally below where the axle would be. So you have the lowest floor electric bus, the lowest floor bus that's been designed. It's a 6-inch step onto the bus. So it's very passenger friendly for loading. And of course, because it's all battery electric, it's zero direct emissions. Next slide. These are some different configurations of the same bus, a 26-foot electric bus, 40-foot electric buses. You can go to the next slide. Here is examples of the MTA buses in Los Angeles. Long Beach has ordered 10 buses that look kind of like that for the Queen Mary routes, and they will be inductively charged. So there's an inductive pad that's embedded in the asphalt at the end of the Queen Mary route. It's 11 inches below, or an 11-inch gap to the secondary coupling pad that's mounted on the bus. There's no mechanical parts. It doesn't get any closer. It stays at a fixed 11 inches and transfers 50 kilowatts at a 90 to 91% efficiency. So that bus literally can go nearly 24 hours a day, infinitely, on that route, because it's an 8-mile route. And so if that dwells for 10 to 12 minutes picking up passengers, it's charge neutral on that route. Next slide. Here's a 45-foot coach. Again, they elevate it so they can put luggage underneath. Here's an articulated bus. The articulated bus is actually being designed out of Los Angeles, and most of these buses will be manufactured in Lancaster, California. The articulated bus will only be manufactured out of Lancaster for the world supply. Next slide. We also have electric forklifts, electric delivery trucks in all sizes. Most of these have launched in China first, and it usually takes 18 months before we launch it for export. Next slide. This electric car is the E6. This was launched in 2010 and has been brought to the U.S., brought to, there's a fleet of electric taxis. This is electric taxi, so high utility vehicle. It's meant to go over 180 miles and a single charge. Bogota has a fleet. I said London already. There's about 1,000 operating around Shenzhen in both white, blue, and red taxis. Hong Kong has launched taxi fleets. These are 5-passenger vehicles, 90 miles per hour. Again, using iron phosphate batteries, the same size module as the bus uses. Next slide. BYD uses a little different technology, however, for charging. We anticipated that the cost of the additional DC charging equipment might be cost prohibitive. The battery in the bus is 324 kilowatt hours. So we're charging that anywhere from 100 kilowatts to 200 kilowatts. That's a pretty hefty charger. So what we did, we used the inverters we were using for regenerative braking. Now, of course, when you're driving, you need those inverters to recover the braking energy to the batteries. But when you're stopped, we multi-use those same inverters for charging. So we've integrated all of the charging equipment on board every bus and every taxi. Those vehicles I just showed you have integrated chargers on the vehicles, and you just deliver AC direct to the vehicle. It makes for a very low-cost infrastructure. It's very easy to demo those buses. We've demoed buses down in Lee's area, down at the San Diego airport, at the LAX. It was easy to demo. We had it running at New York Metro for last month. It's going down to Miami-Dade now. So almost every major transit we're going to be demoing. It's very simple for us to demo our bus and show the AC charging equipment.